Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Entertainment Roundup. I'm J77, and I got two stories I want to talk about, so let's get right straight to it. First of all, I have been keeping an eye on the news on the Harvey Weinstein. How could you? It's been something that has been polarizing, not just for Hollywood, but also for New York, which was at the center of attention with this Harvey Weinstein case. Whether or not the verdict will actually affect what goes on in California, because he still have charges going over there, so he's not going to be particularly off the hook, or pretty much may get more or less charges, depending on how they view things over California. Uh, it really it varies on how you guys think it's going to be handled. But nevertheless, Harvey Weinstein has been found guilty of 2 of the 5 charges of sexual assault. This is something that has made airwaves and had a ripple effect throughout Hollywood. And I gotta say that this is something that I felt was going to come. I didn't think he was going to get charged with everything, but the fact he got 2 out of the 5 really does speak volume. He is now looking at 5 to 25 years in prison, and that is just in New York alone. I don't know. Again, we don't know how that's going to affect California. For what I understand, this is not a federal case, so the red tape could be very, very difficult. But what we do know, that at least in New York, that was filed here, he is looking at some very tough times, and many people have already criticized it, saying that that may not be enough, that he may not even see double-digit charges, which I disagree. I think he is going to see double-digit charges because, again, this is not Hollywood. If this was done in a California case, then I would be very, 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 very iffy about how many years he gets. I do not. I'm just going to call it like it is. I do not trust the system in California. I think it's a very biased system. That's largely because of the political and also the elitist influence that a lot of stars have with the justice system. They look at those who have a lot kind of power a lot differently than those who don't. And this is not. I'm not the only one that feels that way. A lot of people feel this way. And even in New York, people have felt that way as well. But the only difference is it was tried in New York. The same way with the O.J. Simpson situation, when he held people hostages for allegedly stealing his stuff that he no longer owned because he abandoned it in the warehouse. That's the feeling you get from that. That if it was done in California, they probably would have been less strict on him in terms of his sentence. But it wasn't done in California. It was done in Vegas. In Vegas, they don't really care about the glamour and fame and fortune, as was demonstrated by that judge who sentenced him for his crimes that led him to have a stinty length sentences, and finally was released about 10, 13 years later. This is going to be pretty much the same thing here. So I have more feelings that he's going to be making a sample of. And when you have multiple victims like he does, and that's another key, is to say to give him 3 years would be pretty much a slap in the face for those who he had wronged. So I do see at max him getting that 25-year sentence. The minimum, if you want my opinion, I can see him doing 10 to 12. And according to New York law, he has to do 85% of his time. So he's looking at a very hefty time. And I think they're going to be arguing tooth and nail about this. I think they're going to argue tooth and nail about how many years he gets, and basically presenting evidence and testimony. So I do believe that the prosecutor is going to do their job to make sure this person get put away for a long, long time. And listen, when you have multiple testimonies, a person like that who, let's be realistic, he abused his power. There's no other way to do it. He had power, he abused it to get what he wants, force people into something they didn't want to do, and when it didn't apply to his likings, he basically blacklisted them. He blacklisted a lot of actresses who had promising careers, probably ruined or sidestepped because of his influence. and now it came back to haunt him. A lot of people have said something about his walker. I myself was kind of finding ironic that 3 years ago he looked at healthy, strong as an ox. Next thing you know, he's now crouching over, barely can bend, walking with a walker. I find that kind of odd that in 3 years I did not hear anything about a medical condition he had, or a heart attack or anything. I do know after recording this that he was hospitalized. They didn't say what it was. But he was hospitalized after the sentence hearing. I don't know if he's still in the hospital or not. I did not hear anything from the airwaves. But many people who have seen it, including myself, I'm being real, looked at that and said, "Are you serious right now?" And if this was a ploy to get sympathy, boy, did it backfire badly. Another thing that is also very telling, that I don't think he ever thought that he was going to get sentenced. For one, I understand for what his lawyer said, that he said he couldn't believe that he was being sentenced. He was innocent, but obviously the evidence said otherwise. So I do expect him to appeal. How far that appeal will go, I don't know. But the one thing is definitely certain. Approximately 2 days ago, as I'm speaking, he was charged with two out of the 5 counts of sexual misconduct. I don't know what led them to be not guilty in the other accounts. I do know if he would have gotten one of those 3, it could have carried a life sentence. He obviously avoided that. So, but depending of his age, and depending on the structure of his sentencing, he could very well look at the life sentence. He could look at a life without life sentence just on the fact of his health, his age alone, and that could be pretty much what he may be facing. He is facing 5 to 25. I do believe he's going to get double-digit sentences. I do think they're going to make an example of him, as well they should, especially for those who, let's be honest, he ain't the only one who like to use their power for manipulative games, and that's basically what this is all about. So that's the situation that befalls. They probably will be, the process will probably begin. But like I said, from what I have seen with a lot of people, there is a mixture of relief. I'm not going to sit there and wave my hand of joy, because like I said, there is no joy of this. There were lots of victims, and to me, doing that would be disrespectful and disservice towards those who he have wronged. And you know, me personally, I felt for them. I'm glad that justice was served for them. I'm glad that they have sought that justice for what has happened, and hopefully this will start the healing process for those victims that he have basically hurt. So that's the best way I can say. I'm not going to sit here and jump up and down. I'm not even going to say I hope anything bad happens to him. That is something that's a no-no. Revenge will never solve anything at all. The fact that he is going to be sitting in prison for a long time, to me, is enough. All right, that's that. Knowing that he cannot hurt anybody else like that again, that's enough. To me, going any further than that, that's not justice to me. You might feel wrong, and that's fine. I'm keeping it real. I know a lot of people feel differently. I know a lot of people have their own personal feeling and view of justice. That's fine. But to me, celebrating any harm to come to him, no, that's not justice. To me, that's not what I expect. I want him to sit in prison and understand what he did was wrong. I want him to acknowledge what he did was wrong and get the help he needs to make sure he doesn't do this again. Because like I said, it's not a life sentence. He does have a shot to get out if he's healthy enough. That's another key. But if he's getting that whole big sentence, highly unlikely with his health, and especially with what you hear that being hospitalized, that he may actually survive long enough to actually see the sunrise again on his own feet, on his own freedom. With that being said, I did get a lot of people saying that, oh, he's just basically doing this. He's faking going to the hospital because he wants a lighter sentence. If he is, like I said before, it didn't work when he went with the walker. And again, I don't want to say he's faking it because I don't know his medical condition. Like I said, it's kind of odd that no one heard about his medical condition before. I mean, he's not one that, when you hear something like that, it's most likely will be leaked or something will be presented. There was nothing. He was healthy 3 years ago. I mean, guess how long this took for this case to reach this conclusion. He was healthy. He was walking around. He had he was walking straight. Now all of a sudden I'm seeing him with a walker. It's kind of odd. And I can understand why people are saying he's faking it. He's trying to gain sympathy. Personally, that's what I think it is as well. But again, I don't want to say that he has no type of medical condition. I don't know. But what I do know is that he has been convicted by his peers, and to me, they see him guilty of 2 of 5 counts. And now comes that process where both people will claim the arguments why he should not be sentenced to a harsh sentence, why he should get the max. I think they're going to give him a harsh sentence. I don't know if they're going to give him the max. I doubt it, but I do believe he's going to get a harsh sentence. Now, again, I don't know how that's going to play out in California. He is facing charges there, and if he gets guilty there, then he may be looking at time in New York, but then he may have to transfer over to California to do sentencing time there. So that could very well be a life sentence, because one doesn't have nothing to do with the other. He may have to do time in New York, and once he finishes doing his time in New York, then his time in California will actually begin. So it really all depends on how they iron that out. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on, and how they choose to deal with that situation, because that also may play a factor of the appeal case as well. So it's very interesting to see how California, the state of California, deal with it, and how they will view things differently from the state of New York and how they did their procedures. The question that I keep repeating is, I won't think he would have gotten the same. I honestly do believe in my heart that he probably would have gotten less or none in California. I do believe he had that much pull in California. The fact that this was done in New York and not in California, again, I feel that was a major factor. Get it out of that state. He doesn't have any political or kind of economical pull in terms of the justice is concerned here, and I feel that really does play into the role of that. So there you go. That's my feeling on the story. That is something that I've been keeping tabs on, and now I hope for the most part that this will start the healing process for those victims out there. What he did was wrong, unexcusable, unacceptable, and the fact that this has, that he stranded multiple victims throughout the years like this, really shows just how blinded those powerful elitists in Hollywood is. Because you gotta believe someone knew something. And no one really came and vouched for these women. Nobody came and vouched for what was going on. Really, it basically shakes my head as to the stuff that was going on there. Now, to be fair here, I know a lot of people was criticizing actors like Meryl Streep and Quentin Tarantino. Oprah is one person I criticize for a lot of reasons, but not the same way I'm going to bring here. And I'm going to be very, very honest here. I am not going to go after them. I am not going to put them under questions. And for one reason, they probably really didn't know what was going on. I know Meryl Streep has said something, I think either a tweet post or something on Facebook. I'm not too sure where it is. Not agreeing with most of the stuff I had to say, because here's the thing. If you didn't know, it's fine. Okay, you didn't know, and you really want to keep quiet because you really didn't know the situation. I didn't want to say anything because it could be taken in the wrong way. She did acknowledge that, unlike other people I noticed, at least she tried to honest that. But here's the problem I don't want to hear, and I don't think the victims want to hear, or anyone for that matter. Nobody cares when it comes to crimes like this, or any crime for that matter. Nobody cares about their accomplishment. Nobody cares about how much they have done to the community. It doesn't matter. It gets null and void from that. All right. Everybody's going to be worrying about the crime, what he have done, all right, and how long he got away with it. I get a little annoyed when people keep bringing up the accomplishments as if that's supposed to balance out the crime. No, it does not. And I think that's the thing that I think that a lot of people, both in Hollywood and just abroad, because it's not just those in Hollywood that does this. Because I still remember Penn State. And Penn State, that whole fiasco, that should never have happened. They was more worried about their own reputation than the safety and well-being of their students or the people in their campus. And that situation really irks me. More so, the fact is that you had people both in both in the administration office and even those students constantly keep on throwing the good achievements of what the school has done, and how they did this and how they did that. Not one time they have taken the time to say, "Oh my God, look how many victims they have. How can my school do this?" They was more worried about their accomplishments than the actual fact that there was a coach who allowed a heinous crime to happen in his watch, knew about it, and never went to the police about it. And that was the whole thing. All right, and this is what bothers me about it. You can't tell me that this is that somebody did not knew what was going on, and just chose to keep their mouth shut. There was actual video confirmation about some people knowing about what was happening. There was an actress who flat out said, "Don't go to a Harvey Weinstein party." What does she mean by that? Well, obviously she knew something about it, because number one, she wouldn't have said that, and the only thing she was concerned about, and understandably so, is being blacklisted. Somebody should have said something about, why is this person all of a sudden want to blacklist this person and that person? And why should you listen to one person person opinion? Why can't you go by your own interview style and own way to determine whether the person's good or not? There's a whole lot of things that just bothered me, and this is something that when I read Meryl Streep's comments, I understand her view and why she didn't want to go too far into it. But at the same time, nobody wants to hear about his accomplishments. That doesn't matter. Stop bringing about his accomplishment. The fact of the matter is, this man did a horrible crime, and he got away with it for so long. And the fact of the matter is, that's all it is. He suffered the consequences for it, and rightfully so. Now he's going to jail. And the thing I want to hear is, how can we prevent this from happening again? And I feel that Hollywood, especially Hollywood, needs to recognize what just transpired and prevent this abuse of power. Period. Doesn't matter who they are. Which brings me to why I was on Oprah a lot, and why I understand why people are pointing at Oprah, because Oprah has no problem going against everybody who's not in her circle. Start looking about the people in your circle, please. If you're going to criticize the people like Bill Cosby, Michael Jackson, or Kobe Bryant, you need to start looking at your circle. If you're going to criticize these people, do us a favor. Also criticize those in your circle that did wrong. Don't stay quiet about it. That's why people was more upset. At least with Meryl Streep, I can understand her comments. I don't agree with it, most of it, because number one, again, you keep bringing out the man's accomplishments. It doesn't matter. At this point, his accomplishments means nothing. It means nothing to the victims that he's wrong. It means nothing to those who are looking at the evidence. And it damn sure didn't mean anything to the judge or the juror who found him guilty. Stop bringing up these accomplishments. It means nothing. It damn sure didn't mean anything to Penn State. They have gotten hit hard. They have not recovered from that scandal. And one of the main reasons why they got hit with the way they got hit, because many people seem to fail to realize the seriousness of the crime. They want to actually brush it aside and say, well, what about the accomplishments this guy did? What about the accomplishments that guy did? It doesn't matter. The man allowed a very heinous crime to happen on his watch. The man who did it is in jail. Those who were responsible for allowing it to happen and not going to the police, that they said, were either fired or been re-recommended. The football team has not been on the light the way they once were since the whole thing happened. All this because they choose to turn a blind eye and choose not to say something when it matters most. Instead, they try to sugarcoat it in their own way, or basically make threats to the victims. I'm bringing this up for a reason, because I think Hollywood needs to start really thinking about their priorities straight. One of the main reasons why people don't want to hear their political views is because there are a lot of shady stuff going on in Hollywood right as we speak. Who are we kidding here? How are you going to preach about ethics when there's unethical practices being done at Hollywood on a daily basis? You can't preach to me about that. Nobody wants to hear that. And before you do, look at yourself. Again, I keep bringing up Roman Polanski perfectly. Now, again, I don't know if many people are going to be flocking to see it's good to be in his films. I'm pretty sure most of them are. But if you're going to go see these films knowing that he never served 1 day in prison for his crime, then don't say anything about don't complain about this guy doing this or this guy isn't doing that when your guys are going to a man who was actually convicted of the same crime you're accusing everybody else. I agree with some of the analysts that is more about power, about respecting the power more than anything else, and protecting your own brand than anything else. You want to take your own brand, fine, but don't be surprised when you try to, railroad somebody else for your fame and people call you out on it. I say calling out Hollywood. That being said, I am very, very satisfied. Can't say I'm thrilled because I figured that he should have gotten more guilty verdict than what he got. He got 2 out of 5. Fine. I am very satisfied because now you had to do time. Now you had to sit in that jail cell and reflect what he had done. And for once, power and money and fame, all the lawyers he had, didn't mean a damn thing in the end. What's your opinion about that? I'd like to hear what you have to say. I'd like to hear what you guys feel. Leave your comments or anything else. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about it. But that's my honest opinion. I'm not going to be celebrating that here. I hope you get yours because that's not what I want. The fact that he's going to be sitting in prison 23 out of 24 hours a day, reflecting about why he's there, it's more than enough for me, and I think it's more than more enough for those victims out there. Now let's get to Disney, because Disney has to be put in this. I was kind of surprised to hear this. I was shocked for a lot of reasons, and I did not expect this to happen. I know that I did not expect this kind of thing to go down, but it went down. And needless to say, I am at a loss for words. I really am a loss for words. I was like, when I first saw it on my feed, I thought it was like a joke piece or something. But when I heard the name Iga stepping down, I said, for what? I really just said that. For what? Why? What happened? What's going on? But according to the situation, this was his own design. A new CEO was already put in place. The stock market, as expected, took a nosedive. I'm not going to get into the Kathleen Kennedy thing. Again, this is more about Bob Iger and his tenure there, which I'm going to be honest with you, is a pretty damn good tenure. I think he did a fantastic job, in my opinion, of how he saved Disney. Because I think no matter how you feel about how he managed Star Wars and how it became more corporate, I know a lot of people don't like the fact that it became more of a business-minded thing. I'm one of them, not very thrilled of the business decision they have made of late. But on the whole, I think that Iger done a fantastic job of really steering this company into the right direction and not the wrong direction. Because anybody who grew up in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, let's be honest, Disney was not in very good grounds in terms of their finance, in terms of just quality of movies. They really had the animation department, and that's really about it. Their live animation, let's be honest, from the late 80s, early 90s, all the way down to at least 2004 was horrible. It was almost unwatchable. I still get nightmares of that god-awful, in my opinion, and I'm going to repeat this again, only my opinion, worst live-action film they ever produced was Blank Check. I can't stand that film. But it was one of many bad films that they kept throwing out there. They almost lost Pixar. Cars, which many people consider to be Pixar's lowest film, All three of them, really. They don't really have much of good memories for cars. Was supposed to be the final hurrah of the Pixar Disney marriage. They was going to go on their own after that. And the CEO at the time, it was such bad grounds, they literally kicked him out. And Bob Iger came in and basically did the first right thing he did was buy Pixar, which was the smartest thing he ever done. Because why would you want to let that company go? It's beyond me. And then he slowly started making moves that really started building the foundation of what we see right now for Disney. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is probably his best move he have ever done. If it wasn't for him, we probably would not have a Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's be honest. He have acquired a lot of business equities. He have really turned Disney into a entertainment media giant. There's no other way to put it. He really have taken that beyond what I had to say was extraordinary. If you were to tell me that that Disney was going to be what they are now in the 1980s and 90s, I would laugh at your face. I'll be honest with you, because I said Disney only has the animation department. What else they got? I mean, I know they had Hollywood Studios back then and TriStar, which still exists, but only in a every now and then kind of level. But other than that, they really did not have much going for them. Really, they didn't. They started making the changes when he came in. They really started making the changes when he came in, and it really showed. So I don't really have anything negative to say about his tenure. I really don't. Other than the fact that it became too corporate, it became too much like a business, and less of a family-friendly experience that become the love. If I got any criticism about that, is to how he chose to do a warehouse assembly line style production where the quality of the film is less important than actually pumping out the film to gain money. And that's a legitimate criticism. It's a legitimate feedback. I'm pretty sure those even who are big time fans of Disney, I mean die-hard fans, they can tell you about every animation film, every live action film, will say that yeah, this has become a pretty much the norm. And I'm not thrilled with it. I'm not thrilled with seeing these live action fairy tale films that's coming out in record numbers and basically having less quality than the last one. I think Dumbo was the worst of it all. I know people did not like The Lion King. Honestly, I avoided that one because it just seemed too weird for me. But then again, Cats was even worse. So there that is. But I just feel that that's the problem. If anything, I feel that Iger have done wrong is that he is not treating these beautiful masterpieces, both from the Walt Disney era, even from now, even from the Renaissance era, as respectful as they could have been. Again, it's not all bad. I think that the Jungle Book was pretty decent. I think that for the most part, Aladdin was not a bad live action film, but there you can start seeing that the quality is not the same as it is. People still get nightmares about Beauty and the Beast in many ways, but that's just how that's the warehouse assembly line mentality. They tried that with Star Wars, didn't work the way it's supposed to, and they've been doing it for live action film. Now you're going to see a lot more of it because again, they do make money. I mean, bottom line is at the end of the day, if it makes money, that's all that matters to them. But in all, despite that criticism I have of him, I gotta say that Iger did a fantastic job, and he's gonna be missed. I'm not sure how the other guy's gonna do. I'll probably do a separate report and get a feeling for what he does. But overall, I feel that again, for the most part, I think he did a good job. The people behind the doors like what he has done. You cannot excuse the fact that he's done. I mean, and most CEOs are going to have their flaws, they got their missteps. But his missteps are very little than his achievements. And he have achieved so much with Disney. He really did, in many ways, have gave Disney an identity not seen in a long, long time. That's an empire now. And it's no coincidence it happened on his watch. Now, as far as the rumors, I'm maybe throw it out there again. I don't want to bring Kathleen Kennedy into this, but I do have to say this. Do I think this is going to actually affect Kathleen Kennedy's stay here? I don't think so. She still have a contract. That contract is, I think they're going to let her run her contract. And then after that, whatever they decide to do, they're going to decide to do. But I don't think it's because of Star Wars. That's not what I think. I know a lot of people feel that that may be behind closed doors. They want to have a change. They're not in terms of the Star Wars property itself. Yes, it has not been very rosy in terms of their amusement park, in terms of their films. Even though only one film in the Disney in the Disney era, Star Wars, didn't underperform. It's every other film that they have made has been smash hits, regardless of how much money they make. A lot of people always look at the $1 billion mark as a new standard, which I think is ridiculous. It should always go by what was their budget. That's also including the marketing and how much they made to make up that money that they have to recoup, plus whatever profit they had after all the expenses has been tallied. To me, they've done a good job with that. Hate them or like these movies, they made money. Now, if you guys want to debate how good these films are, no question about it. Let's go. I love to talk about these films, good or bad, in lengths. I want to talk about the High Republic thing, which I think I'm scratching my head after that. I don't understand that. I don't get it. But that's just me. I know pretty much Star Wars fans will talk about that. But other than that, I don't feel that was the reason he left. I think that he's done what he had to do. I think he accomplished what he needs to accomplish, and he's decided, you know what, I'm done. I'm leaving now. While I'm on top, than to overstay my welcome. I think there's the philosophy of knowing when to leave, and he's leaving, in my opinion, at the absolute right time. He's not also, and for what I understand, he's not going to be fully out. He's still going to have some role in Disney, which is a good thing. That he can actually go for that transaction and let the new CEO do his thing, but he's still going to have some kind of influence I forgot what role he's going to be in now, but he's going to have some kind of influence in terms of how Disney will move forward from here into the next 5 years. So he's not out of the loop. Let's get that real clear. But he is stepping down as CEO. Now, again, as usual, when you hear stuff like that, when a CEO is out of the loop, the stock market reacts, and boy, did they react! They reacted big time. But that's to be expected. I mean, when you have a CEO of that caliber stepping down, the uncertain future really does panic the shareholders. They really do. I mean, they're like, oh, wait a minute, he's gone. We don't know what's going on. Maybe there's something going on within the structure of Disney we're not aware of. Sell, and that alone will pretty much bring the stock market into that uncertainty of whether they sell or whether raise or lower. But at the end, I think it's going to stabilize as always, and things will move on perfectly as normal, unless a few bad decisions from the new CEO loses confidence within the shareholders, and to the point where now we got to be very concerned. But it hasn't happened yet. It's only been 2 days, so let's just relax. Let's just relax. Again, it does bring us perspective how the new CEO is going to go, what changes are going to make, and what business inquiries he's going to actually acquire or even sell off. So this is going to be very interesting to see what they're going to do, and especially if divisions such as 20th Century Fox, Lucas, Marvel isn't doing as well, what he will do to actually to lighten the burden, or just basically if he feels like shrink it or merge it with other companies, because that could be also in the possibility too. So it's never there's never that gray thick line of he's gonna keep things running as if nothing happened. New CEO wants to make a mark. He's gonna try and make some moves that will solidify his leadership in the board. So we're gonna see what happens. It's definitely gonna make for an interesting scenario. So again, what's your feeling on this? What's your feeling about Iger's resigning? Again, it was a shocker to me. I honestly didn't see that coming. I mean, I really didn't. So, again, it's like, wow, he's stepping down. I mean, I may not agree with some of his policies, but I did think he did a hell of a job of putting Disney the way they are right now. And again, I can say that because I followed Disney throughout the time. I got sick and tired of live action films. They was just bleeding money. The only thing that was actually making money for them was the animated feature, and even that was beginning to run stale. They're almost losing Pixar. It was a disastrous turn of the century for these guys. And he came along, and boy, did that change. It changed dramatically. So again, what's your opinion on that? You may disagree. I'd like to hear what you have to say. And leave it in the comment section. I'd like to hear it. Okay. I was going to hold off saying it, but I might as well say it right now. I am going to talk about something related to Lucas, but Indiana Jones 5. I mentioned this before. I don't want to see an old 77-year-old Indiana Jones cracking the whip. I don't. I mean, I know that Harrison Ford is committed on this. He wants to get it. He is very, very dead set on that. But I'm kind of curious now, is he going to continue doing it now that we have the man who had been behind the director's chair for all 4 Indiana Jones films, including being executive producer for the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. Yes, I even watched those. I'm kind of wondering about if Harrison Ford is going to be around now that it's been announced that Spielberg will not be directing it. This will be a very first in this franchise that he is not going to direct it, even though he was slated to direct a few years ago. The fact that he's not directing now, that brings a lot of questions. And I did see Geek and Gamer's perspective on that. I do understand his pros and cons about the whole thing, because I do agree that it's not exactly that bad of a thing if he gets a competent director. And for what I understand, the director of Ford vs. Ferrari, which is actually, I think, is a good choice to direct the Indiana Jones 5. If that's the case, then that's fine. I think that's a proven director. He can. I think he'll do wonders with the film. But like I said, the fact that Steven Spielberg is not directing is going to cast some doubts on how they're going to go forward with Indiana Jones. Personally, if you're going to make it Indiana Jones, I will start with a fresh new face. You don't have to reboot the series. You don't. It has that world has like a James Bond vibe that you can actually put another character in and have a fresh new beginning with that actor. I don't feel that Harrison Ford should be in this film. I'm always repeat again, but now I never even bothered to think about the director, Steven Spielberg. And first thing first, I don't think it was because of Kathleen Kennedy's decision. I don't. Yes, she has a bad reputation in terms of creating differences with writers and everything else. But I think this is more, the fact is that, A, if you're listening to Harrison Ford, and I know Harrison Ford knows this, people have not forgot about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Now, I like the King of the Crystal Skull. I thought it was a fun popcorn film. But then again, I never came in with high expectations to begin with. I really didn't. I came in and saying, I hope this film is good. That's all I care about. If the film is good, that's all that matters. Let's just get that show on the road. That's all I cared about. I didn't care about nothing else. I wanted this film just to be good. That's it. And it was, for the most part. I did not expect it the same Indiana Jones that I saw in the 80s, because, again, times have changed in terms of action films. The status of PG and PG-13 has changed. But for the most part, I was entertained. I enjoyed it. Yeah, the nuke in the fridge was stupid, but I enjoyed it. But I know a lot of fans did not. And I think that even though they could accept Indiana Jones flying off, jumping out of an airplane with nothing more than a freaking, inflatable raft and surviving that, they can deal with that. Which I think was even worse, because there was no way he should have survived the impact. But that's Indiana Jones for you. People really did have a problem with the nuclear fridge. I think that was to cross the line. It's weird how fans are, but I think that was more about the fact that they expected a whole lot more from Indiana Jones. They expected that same Indiana Jones feel from the 80s, and I don't see it happening. Not with Harrison Ford, at least. I don't see it happening. They probably would have been just better off making another film. With a new fresh actor and giving a fresh new start without actually having to reboot the series. But that's just me. That's just how it is. But Steven Spielberg is a little bit of an exception. I do feel that's going to have an impact on the main stars. Because Indiana Jones, because it was only once one director. And I do disagree with Geese Game on one thing. He hadn't. It's not that he has missed a step or two, but he's been making a lot of biopics. If you take a look between the late 90s to 2000s, his blockbusters to biopic ratio has been pretty much diminishing. He doesn't want to make the blockbuster films anymore, really. It's that Ready Player One, which he did mention, and it was a fun film. Let's be real. Really was his first true blockbuster style film in a long, long time. I think the last time he made a blockbuster style film was Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of Crystal Skull. Anything in between that was just basically biopics. The last good biopic, if you want my honest opinion, was Bridges of Spies, was done with Tom Hanks. That was actually a pretty damn good film, worthy of an Academy Award nomination. I don't know if the guy who played the spy, accusing of basically spying on the U.S. deserved to have the award over Sylvester Stallone in terms of best supporting actor. Well, I thought the movie overall was fantastic. I really did. I thought it was one of Steven Spielberg's best biopics in a long, long time. And so I do think he still got what it takes. He definitely is still one of the better directors out there. I'm just keeping it real. So hearing his name not attached to his baby, one of his pride and joy, the film that really he wanted to do a James Bond type style character and end up getting this character and really running with it is really to me a crowning achievement. I think that personally I would have been happy with the 3 Indiana Jones films, but they are making a 5th one, and you know what? If he feels that it's time to pass the torch, then fine. It's not for me to say that he was forced out. I don't think he was forced out. You don't force out Steven Spielberg. Let's be realistic. You got Steven Spielberg, and you're able to do something with Steven Spielberg, you're going to do whatever it takes to make this man happy in terms of what he does, because he knows what he's doing. So the fact that he's willing to step aside now and let another director, I actually think it's a good thing. I think it really bring a fresh new perspective of the character. And I think that he's just tired of doing blockbusters in general. I never got the feeling that he wanted to do another Indiana Jones to begin with. In fact, I know he didn't want to do Indiana Jones. The only reason why we had a third Indiana Jones film because he wanted to apologize for the last 2 Indiana Jones films. I think people have forgot about that. That the only reason why we had the Last Crusade because he felt regret on making Raiders, even though Raiders is considered to be a masterpiece by many people. It was nominated for countless awards. He regretted making that a Nazi film. He did. He went out and said it. He even regretted more about the Hinduism and the betrayal of those of Hinduism in the Temple of Doom. And that film, surprisingly, is considered to be a popcorn delight by many fans. Critics don't like that film. If you want to be honest, if you want to go by quote movie reviewer critic quotations, Temple of Doom would have been despised now more than ever than the fans. The fans love Temple of Doom. They love the overtopness. They love the scary atmosphere and the action films and the action about that film a lot more than they did Raiders. They felt this was the film that they actually pushed Indiana Jones' popularity to new heights. It had video games, it had board games, it was referencing Muppet Babies. Funny thing about that film, though, I think that what made that film such great is what Steven Spielberg basically shook his head in regret, because it was that and Gremlins that actually gave us PG-13. It really was, and rightfully so in many ways. Because let's be honest, I was freaking freaked out when I saw a man's heart got pulled out of his chest. I mean, I don't think any kid expected that. I'm like, ah! And I watched this on television. It was hilarious. I was like, damn, this is PG? Really? I thought the first one was crazy. This was even more bizarre. But in any case, it was that craziness and fun that it delivered that many fans loved. Critics absolutely hated that movie. They absolutely despised that movie. I was like, wow, you guys really don't see the humor in this. Yeah, it was. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. The lady was a little bit annoying. The kid sidekick, who was from Goonies, was not exactly getting me thrilled to see him again. But you know what? Overall, it was just a fun film. It gave me one of my best themes, the slave march which I first heard not from the movie but from the video game that I played on the arcade when I was little, which introduced me to Indiana Jones. That's ironically that and the Muppet Babies. So it was very, very. To me, that is the worst. If you want to go by reviewers' sake, not by the fans, it is considered the worst of the four. It's kind of crazy. Even the nostalgia critic, yeah, and I can understand why he was saying what he was saying, because I do agree with some of the stuff he said about the Indiana Jones film. Felt that it was more over the top and more unbelievable than the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The difference between the two is that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I can understand what it is. Took this up a little too seriously, and it was not as fun and entertaining. And the fact is that it overhyped itself. Where Temple of Doom, it was just, it's a popcorn film. It was entertaining. It was suspenseful. It was all the above, and people enjoyed it for what it was. More so than Raiders, which Raiders, to me, no question, is the best of the whole series. But Raiders was more of a dramatized action film, where Temple was, if I can explain it more correctly, was more of a popcorn action film that most people come to expect. And that's why it's holds dear to a lot of fans. A lot of fans hold Temple Doom more to a higher standard than Raiders, and that was because of the overwhelmingly action-packed ridiculousness that's being done. Let me just make sure this is off. That's the whole thing. So I don't know how 5 is going to be. I really don't know, but I do want to bring that up. I don't know if you're ever going to capture the magic of what those 3 films is, because each film, it appealed to surprisingly, to a whole different group. Even The Last Crusade was considered to be a perfect closure to the trilogy. And that's why I think it was a perfect closure. Them Riding to the Sunset. It had a style, and to me, it's truly the true sequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark, because it follows through a few years after the events of Raiders, where Temple of Doom is before even Raiders starts. How that works, I don't know, but that's before prequels were prequels. So I'm actually looking, seeing how that thing works. I'm seeing how that works out, but I'm hoping that for the most part that they do justice with that and do it right. And look, I think that was the more situation. I don't think it's Kathleen Kennedy's fault in that situation. I will give her a pass on that, because it doesn't sound like she's actually too big involved with Raiders. I think it's more to do with what script can we do to get it right. How can we get it right? How can we make sure that Indiana Jones is done? And Harrison Ford himself understood this, because Harrison Ford said himself that he heard the fans' displeasure of the Kingdom of Crystal Skull. They really did. All right, they realized that Lucas wanted to make a alien film, and he did. Even though he said interdimensional beings. If you look at the behind the scenes, and Steven Spielberg was trying to stop him from doing it, and he ended up getting his way anyway. I think he should have listened to Steven Spielberg. Don't make this an alien film. Keep it grounded, please. Yeah, that's what the story is, and hopefully that's gonna be something that I'm gonna keep an eye on. But like I said before, it's out of all the films I was pumped up to see, I'll come back. That's the least of my ones. Disney, I am curious of what's going to happen with the Mighty Ducks and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, though. I didn't think they was going to bring back the Mighty Ducks now that, because I thought the story was dead with 1, 2, and 3, and there's no really need to go back. Plus, Pee Wee League sport genres is a dead genre to me. I don't see people flocking to see a Bad News Bear remake again. I think that even though that remake was actually pretty damn good, I was kind of surprised how much I actually enjoyed that one. I don't know if I don't know how they're gonna pull it off. Now, from one thing I heard, it's gonna be in Disney Plus, which, by hindsight, doesn't seem that bad. They can actually make this, if they want to be smart about it, they can probably make it into multiple episodes if they want to reboot it. I don't think it's gonna follow the get woke, so go broke situation, but it wouldn't surprise me if they put a female coach in there to it too much. But who knows? It's not long the road. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Honestly, I want them to leave that alone. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the first one, to me, is a classic. It can never be duplicated. In fact, it wasn't duplicated. They made 2 bad sequels. One so bad they didn't even make it into video. I mean, they purposely made it direct to video. But then again, with that, when you saw the second one, why should you not be? Why should you want to run to see another one? Honey, I Blew Up the Kid was the worst of the three. Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, while not as bad as it was not as good anyway. I don't even know what to make of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids a series. I really don't. It exists. It does have its fan base, but I'm more concerned about that. More so than anything else. Just like I'm saying, I mean, Home Alone, I can't really say much because they did 2 direct-to-TV movies. So, seeing a Home Alone movie that's going to be on, or at least a series, which they did or I attempt to do on Disney Plus, doesn't seem to shock me because again, they attempted this. They failed, but they did attempted it. So I guess my own feeling is that I just wait and see. Disney has the properties. I don't agree of it being on Disney because it was never, because a good chunk of it, especially with Home Alone, has nothing to do with Disney. If you want to reboot it, might as well just start from scratch and just start Home Alone with now Kevin being the father and some other kid doing what he did. That's how I would have done it. But you know what? Who am I? I'm nothing in Hollywood. So, so that's been brewing. Whether or not it's actually going to see the light of day, I don't know. It'd probably be quiet, just like another film which I actually didn't think they would ever go back and do, but they did. Adventure in Babysitting. That film came out quietly to the point where when I walked over, I turned around and said, "Hey, wait, there's an actual reboot version of this made for TV," and I just looked at it and said, "Yeah, this is not gonna be good," because they seem to not understand what made the first one so popular in the first place. Don't know that was Disney's first PG-13 film, and when you see it, you kind of understand why. I can also understand why not many parents actually like that film because of some of the subject matter they choose to do in that film, which affected the film so much. They didn't do another PG-13 film under Disney name until Pirates. If you want to know why it took that long for a PG-13 film to be back in Disney's name, Adventure in Babysitting is the reason. Just thought about that. So, again, Disney Plus, they have a platform, and they're going to have to build on that platform. And I hope they do good with that platform. Again, to me, if it's a family-friendly platform, I don't have a problem with that. My problem is how they choose to bring out content. That's the thing that's going to be an issue because there have been some issues before. They can't rely on Star Wars. They have to convince the fans that this is not a Star Wars destination. That this is everything destination. And especially when you're saying you have Marvel, which I know they're going to be bringing out. You have the Discovery Channel, which I'm still kind of curious how that's going to work. You have Pixar, you have Disney, and you have the Star Wars brand. So you have all these brands here. Now, personally, if I would have ran the streaming, I wouldn't put Star Wars. I would put Lucasfilms. Why? Because you can actually you have a actual independent small studio that can make other stuff. That could be your science fiction studio for Disney Plus. Don't isolate it to just Star Wars. You can put Star Wars. You can put some Indiana Jones stories in there. You can put a lot of other stories that could be produced by Lucasfilms. Don't just be isolated to just one or two franchises. You can have this is a perfect opportunity for Lucasfilms to really blossom under the Disney umbrella. And I think that's another thing. I think that if Kathleen Kennedy is going to be in charge still, she needs to go think outside the box other than just Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Lucasfilms should be more than just that. And I just think that they need to really expand the brand. Hell, even George Lucas knew that. He actually did try to attempt to expand the brand outside of just being the Star Wars company. That's the thing I'm hoping that they would do with the studio they have got under their umbrella. And hopefully that will do that. I'm hopeful for that, that they will actually start moving in that direction. But what's your opinion on that? I'd like to hear what you have to say. I'd like to hear what you have to say about all the stuff I've talked about. I will leave Sonic the Hedgehog for another video. Needless to say, I am very impressed It hasn't been in the U.S. It hasn't been outside the U.S. This is actually all in this area, the North American market, that has actually gained 200 million. That's right there. It's a mega hit because they haven't touched Japan, they haven't touched China, they haven't touched anything outside this outside international waters. This is all North American money. So again, they have actually taken over as king of the video game movie industry, and you know what? The fans came out and supported it. I think that shows a lot. And I'm going to talk more about that in another video. But to me, congratulations to them. You know, and you guys earned it. I mean, let's be realistic. They did something that many studios have not done in a while. You actually listen to feedback, and that became a major factor. Period. I hope these people who in studios, those who are writing their blogs, take note of that. You know, hey, you bash your customers. You don't expect to have too many people show up. When you treat the customer with respect, they take notice and will be more appreciated and will support your product. Plain and simple. But my opinion, it's only my opinion. Love to hear your opinion. Love to hear your dialogue. I want to thank anyone who actually have clicked on and waited and listened to this long. I really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate you guys' support, and you guys are the very reason why I do this as a hobby. So thank you very, very much. Really, really do appreciate it. But until next time, it's J77 saying take care, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.